Hear that? Isn't that amazing? Oh. Welcome back. Sounds strange, but there's more wildlife here than there was where I lived in Oregon. I even found the other night a very rare animal out here. I'll show you a picture of it right here. It's called the Arizona tiger salamander. It's really cool. I have seen salamanders in Oregon. Sue had one as a pet for several years. It needed water. It needed to be in water. Spent a lot of time underwater. To find one out here, apparently they're native to this area, but are very, very rare to find or see. It's amazing out here right now. Everything is so green. Last night we got well below the dew point, and there's literally dew on everything. And we got a little bit of rain yesterday afternoon. The storms have been all around us. In fact, the last 2 weeks, it rained all around us every single day. It just hasn't rained here. It's very strange the way this place is. It'll rain 5 miles around us in every direction, but just not right here. The locals joke that there's a vortex here that keeps the rain away. Maybe there's some kind of validity to that. Sue is doing really well. Scout and Bandit are doing good. Life out here on the homestead has actually been pretty easy. We went through our hottest weather, which was only the low 90s. It was a lot cooler this year. And right now we're going through another heat wave at the beginning of August, which is the low 80s, and then it's going to jump back into the 70s, I think, for the rest of the month. So it's just really comfortable out here. We get shade every afternoon from the clouds, from the monsoons. It's just been absolutely beautiful. The one good thing about the straw garden is it soaks up a lot of moisture, and I haven't had to water very much, even though it's only rained about once a week, and sometimes less than that. The other week I was able to go an entire week without watering it, so that makes a huge difference. Definitely cuts back on the water use, but definitely using a lot more water this year. Have had to haul more water. When we did get rain, the local companies, a lot of them will not deliver out here, so it's no big deal. We already had a plan for that. There's also been a lot of craziness out in the world. There's been, mass shootings and defensive shootings and hero shootings and all kinds of things like that. I thought about making a video talking about these subjects and giving my opinion as a competitive shooter and somebody who's also been present at a number of advanced tactical classes, giving my take on a couple of things. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing a video like that. There's definitely, I have some solid points to make on some of that, and so anyway, I may do that coming up in the future. Coming up, I'm going to be working on making a welding video, so stay tuned. It's going to be pretty cool. Also, we've had something interesting happen very recently, within this last week. At 5:30 in the morning, a coyote walked up within maybe 15-20 feet of the RV and urinated directly on a pile of Scout's poop. In fact, the pile that she had made that night when we took her out, the most fresh, and it was a female coyote. Very distinctly marked its territory right on Scout's pooping. It knew, it saw me looking out the window, and I yelled out the window and it ran off, but it didn't run fast. It ran for about 20 feet and then kind of just walked slowly and turned back and looked. Right after I scared that coyote off, me and Scout went out and we walked the perimeter of the property, and we found another spot where that coyote had urinated, kind of like a border marking. I did some research and I found out that usually that means that the pack sent in a female, possibly a female in heat, but sent in that female as a, kind of like as a challenge. And more than likely they have some kind of problem with Scout, which I don't blame them. I mean, she's the big dog watching the property. So I decided to go out the next morning, and I was going to either aggressively scare off this coyote if it came back, or more than likely I was going to just decided to shoot it. I haven't this whole time we've been on the property, and all my neighbors shoot their coyotes. They all shoot coyotes, and I don't. And if it's going to be coming in right at 5:30 a.m. at the time I let my little dog out to go to the bathroom every morning at 5:30, and it came right into camp kind of brazen like that, I can't let that happen. So I loaded up my rifle, my good rifle with the scope, and took it out. And it's actually my 3-gun competition rifle. And after walking around in the early morning light for about 45 minutes, I had amplified hearing protection on, which amplifies the sound around me by about times 10. So I can hear really, really good. And I was crouched down over near our pet cemetery, and I heard a twig break behind me. I was actually looking through the scope just at the open field. So I heard a twig break behind me. I turned my head behind me like this, and 25 yards behind me is the coyote. And it looked up and saw me at the same time, and I had no glasses on, so we looked eyeball to eyeball, and it was totally surprised to see me. So in the time it took me to go from crouched down like this, looking through the scope, okay, looking through the rifle, from the time it took me to stand up, turn, okay, raise the rifle, look through the scope, and take a shot, that coyote had ran from 25 yards, I paced it off, to 65 yards. And I only had just a very slender view of the coyote because it was running away from me, and all I could see is just kind of the ass end and the tail. So through the scope I could see when I broke the shot that I missed by about an inch to the left. And the coyote immediately turned 90 degrees and ran. So then it was turned broadside to me, and I had it clean in the scope, and I could have easily taken a second shot, but it was moving in a direction of fire that puts the bullets out of where I knew they were going to stay on my property. So I decided not to take the shot. I decided to wait until later. But I'll tell you what, those years of practicing in 3-gun paid off. I don't know how many times I've already practiced turning, going from a low ready, turning, raising the gun, put your eye in the scope, and firing, and getting my first shots off usually within a second to a second and a half. And I've done that many times in competition. I've set up many courses of fire like that, challenging other shooters to have to do the same thing as part of the game. I'm used to mounting the rifle extremely quickly, getting my eye in the scope, and breaking the shot and getting a good accurate shot. It's something you do in 3-gun, and honestly, my rifle is set up to be that way. It's got a really good fast resetting, fast to prep and fire trigger. It breaks at like 3.5 pounds. If anybody out there knows what that means, I don't even know if I'll keep this in the video, but it was, talk about getting your heart going. That was something else. I did not expect it to go like that. And then after that, 3 times in a row, we've had the pack in 2 locations at a 45-degree angle across the property, at each end of the property, calling back and forth at like 1:30, and then 3 o'clock, and then 3:30 in the afternoon on 3 different days. And then when I put the amplified hearing protection on the first day, I heard them cackling back and forth. As soon as I put on the amplified hearing protection, I could hear the sound of a whimpering puppy, which is a noise they make to draw your dog in. Take the earmuffs off and I can't hear it. Put them back on and I can hear it. That went on for like 45 minutes that first day. They are definitely trying to get our dogs here on this property, you know, all the little dogs that are over at our friend's camp. And especially, I think they've got it in for Scout. Scout has yet to actually see one in person. I don't know what she'll do. She might be afraid. I wouldn't blame her. I'm not going to let her go challenge this pack in any way. You know, I haven't seen one. I've been out hunting every morning now. It's been 6 mornings since it happened. I'm willing to do anything to protect my dogs. So at the very least, I scared off that one female, but it didn't deter this pack. They are still here. They're here. We can hear them all the time. And I've never seen them focus just on this property before, but it appears they are now. So every time I've taken Scout for a walk, she acts different now when she smells the coyotes. I took her out immediately and let her smell that coyote's urine and told her, kept saying the word coyote. And I watched the way she responded, and she has a certain body language that she does when she smells it. So now I can tell, and they are marking all over this property, all over the border areas and stuff where we walk all the time, where all of us walk the dogs. Coyotes are out there marking it. So I don't expect this to go very well. That's why I decided that I'm probably going to have to take one. Quick rodent update. I found the magic sauce. 14 mice, 2 pack rats, 3 nights, 5 traps. Yep. Had a pack rat get up inside of the engine of the Navigator. It's the second time this has happened. I caught it on the very first day it was in there. It gets down under the intake manifold because they're kind of high up. I saw it in there yesterday. During the day, it showed its little head and then dove back in there. And there's only one way out, through the front of the motor. So, you know, I did what I could to try to get it, coax it out. And so I went ahead and started the motor, and I took him for a ride, cranked the AC on so it would warm up nicely, and came back, and sure enough, he's cooked down inside the motor. It's a fairly large pack rat. He's cooked. So I think I let the motor cool down, but I think he's like cooked, where if I tried to pull him out with a long pair of needle nose, it might be like cooked meat coming apart, and I don't want to deal with that. So I'm thinking maybe the best thing to do is to drive it a couple of more times and let him get just baked hard and dry, and then I can pull him out easily. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I don't have to drive this vehicle for a few days, so baked pack rat. But hey, I'm not complaining. We have an overpopulation of the rodents, the rabbits, all kinds of stuff. And because there's so many people living out here, yes, we do have a pack of coyotes, but there's so many people living out here, these predators can't hunt as easily as they could before all the humans were here. So it's each human that buys property out here, it's kind of your responsibility to help take care of and manage the wildlife on your property, especially when it comes to the small things, because rodents and rabbits, when there's an over infestation of them, disease is what happens very quickly. And that disease then will go right to your pets and to you. And I can't have that either. So seems like there was something else, or there's always something else that I mean to mention in an update and I always forget. And I don't do these things scripted. That's a little too much work.